Hi, if your dishwasher won't turn on after you've closed the door, even if the lights come on, it could still be the door switch that's faulty. So in this video I'll be testing and replacing the door switch assembly on a Zanussi tabletop dishwasher. The tools used on this project were a thin bladed screwdriver, a T20 Torx bit and driver, a pair of long nose pliers, these are optional, you may not need them, and a multimeter. For this particular job you can leave the basket in the machine if you want, but I prefer to remove it first. To get to the switch you first have to remove the outer door panel, which is held on by 6 T20 Torx head screws, 2 on either side and 2 on the top edge. Remove all the screws and don't worry about the panel falling off, because it's also held in place by 4 tags on the inside of the inner door panel, which have to be unhooked from the outer panel to release it. So when the screws have come out, ease the inner and outer panels apart with the aid of a small flat bladed screwdriver. When the couplings for the 2 door panels have been disengaged, then close the door too, but don't shut it completely, and you'll be able to separate both sections, which will allow you access to the inner workings of the door assembly. Remove the remaining 2 screws on the top edge of the inner door panel to release the switch assembly. Remove both display terminals from the switch, but don't pull on the wires or you could snap them. If they're really tight, then either use pliers or leave them off with a screwdriver. With a switch assembly like this that incorporates a micro switch, I would usually suggest replacing the micro switch, because it could be cheaper than replacing the whole switch assembly. But in this case, the button on the micro switch activates in the opposite direction to most other switches. That is, when the button is depressed on most switches, it makes contact and activates the switch. However, with this micro switch, depressing the button breaks contact and deactivates the switch. So if you fit a standard micro switch, the machine will only work when the door is open. If there's a reading on your meter, then the switch is fine and the fault lies elsewhere. But if there's no reading, then replace the switch assembly. If you test the switch while it's still attached to the housing, it should only activate when the button is out, which means the lever on the switch assembly must also be activated. You'll need to reset the door switch mechanism before reattaching it to the door, or the door won't close. And remember, it's much easier to refit the wires before screwing it on. The inner and outer door panels go back together very easily. Once they're lined up, the door outer panel just clips onto these latches on the inner panel. There are 2 either side, and it will stay there while you refit the 6 Torx head screws. Before you run the dishwasher, do an earth continuity test to make sure the appliance is properly earthed. Select the 200 ohms scale on your meter and connect one probe from it onto the earth terminal of the mains plug and the other on any exposed metal section of the machine. Ideally you should get a reading on the meter of about 0.5 ohms, but a large portion of the widely available multimeters are not that precise, so as long as you get some kind of reading it would indicate you have continuity. If not, then you have an earth fault, so re-examine the wiring. On behalf of Selfix UK, we'd like to thank you for watching this video and hope you found it useful. Goodbye.